the ability to overcome adversity, the ability to go through the most difficult times, the ability to break through and to achieve usually starts with a purpose.
Friends, what's your default when your alarm goes off in the morning? Do you choose to hit the snooze button, roll back over, staying comfortable under your toasty comforter, dreaming of tropical beaches, assuming there's nothing new for you on the other side of your comfort? Or do you quickly sit up, putting both feet on the floor, ready to embrace whatever life has in store for you that day, with a clear sense of where you're headed? If you chose the former, you may not have a clear idea or sense, in fact, maybe any idea of what your purpose is in life. If you find yourself on this beach, then you're in the right place at the right time, listening to the right podcast. Welcome to the most exciting adventure of your life. Welcome to a new way of living, and welcome to the 5 Mountain Adventures podcast.
Hi, I'm Casey.
And I'm Andy, and we're on a mission to inspire and guide 1 million people to live a life of purpose, passion, and self-mastery, leveraging the 5 mountains of cutting-edge human development: physical, mental, emotional, intuitional, and spiritual, to build unshakable mental fitness.
Today, we are speaking with Richard Thompson. He is driven and inspired to understand better why people do what they do. Why do some succeed when others fail, and others don't even start? These questions and a desire to serve have Richard choose the crucible of becoming a U.S. Navy SEAL to test and challenge his character and help forge his resolve and leadership skills. Becoming a Navy SEAL was transformative and enlightening, and set him on a path to inspire others to experience the power and fire that lives within all of us. Today, Richard pursues his passion as a coach, as he did as a SEAL, to be the best in the world. Richard has had the privilege to coach many incredible people looking to become a better version of themselves, from professional sports teams in the National Hockey League and American Hockey League, executives, veterans with post-traumatic stress, and many others. Richard is a certified life coach from the Life Coach School and Master Unbeatable Mind and SEAL Fit coach, applying the integration, translation, testing, and modeling of the first truly integral human performance training system. A model built over 25 years through trial and error, proven in the SEAL teams and taught to SEAL candidates and professionals since 2006. After graduating in 2003 from California State University, San Marcos, with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, he moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, where he currently resides with his wife, Tanya, of 20 years, and 12-year-old son, Luca. Richard's purpose is to be the example he wants to see in the world and inspire others to liberate their thinking to serve them. Welcome, Richard.
Oh, thank you, Casey.
Excited to have you on. Hearing you on some of the calls or Unbeatable Mind calls, we learn so much and always some deep insights. So we're really excited about where this is going to take us today. Just to break the ice, we always have an intro question. And what are you most curious about in your life right now?
Curious in my life right now, what's possible? I feel like right now in my life, I'm just scratching the surface of what's possible. There's a spark in me, and that flame, it keeps continuing to grow, and it scares the hell out of me part of the time. And it just absolutely gets me smiling and giggly, because I know my path is clear, and I'm just so grateful to be here, be alive right now in this time in the world right now. And I'm just curious to see what I can create and how I can contribute.
Oh,
Nice.
That's powerful. Oh, I'm smiling here as I'm hearing you say this, because it resonates, right? It's just a powerful purpose, powerful curiosity. Just never let the flame go out.
So we love hearing about where people come from, roots, what got you to where you are today. Could you tell us about your younger years, the curiosity around human behavior that you talk about that led you to becoming a SEAL? When did that start, or do you always remember having that?
So I love to start off. My old boss used to say this all the time. I always thought it was funny, because I was born at a very young age. right? And since then, I've always been, it's one of those things, I've always been fascinated with the question, like, why do people do what they do? In my upbringing, because I've seen people do things that I thought were just absolutely wrong, and just people with really tough upbringings and backgrounds do incredible things. It's like, why is that? Like, why human beings are so fascinating to me. And that set me on this journey of really creating, like, I grew up playing a lot of sports. I was not much of a student, right? I like in high school, thankfully they had a GPA where you had to have at least a 2.0 to play sports. Otherwise, it would have been like the number would have been before the decimal point, right? So if there was some ball, if it was a sport, I was out there playing it. And one of the thoughts I used to have when I was growing up is, oh, you're stupid and you have to play sports because that's the only thing you can actually do. Because the evidence that I made myself right about was I've always had a difficult time spelling. Very challenging. I've been tested for it. My mom says, hey, you just see things differently. Okay, not helpful. And so, okay. So from that, I took that interpretation from a young age just to mean simply, you're dumb, right? Probably not the most powerful way in which to view the world, but that's how I did it back then. So then I started collecting evidence to make myself stupid. So of course I'm going to fail tests if you don't study for them, right? Of course I'm not going to do well if I don't open the book. And I just get to make myself right. And fortunately for me, one day I woke up and go, wait a minute. What if I'm not stupid? What if I'm just not doing things that other people do? And what if I have to work a little bit harder? Because to this day, thankfully, there is spell check. Like, I'm so grateful that, before I put an email out, there's all these red lines and, all kinds of, it's like, stop before you send that out. Geez, what are you doing? Okay, thank you. I can just go right through and get it fixed. I can spend a lot of time and energy trying to learn how to spell. It's not my goal. But what I learned is if I apply myself and I change the way I talk to myself, it completely changes everything for me. So when I was in high school, I chose not to call myself stupid. I chose to go, wow, what if I opened up these things I've been carrying around in my backpack thinking they're just like weights, good ruck, go on through back and forth to school. It's like, wait a minute, there's actually stuff inside these books. And that's where the test questions come from. Wait a minute, what's going on here? And so I actually started reading these things and going, oh, okay, maybe you're not stupid. Maybe you just need to apply yourself and read the material. And so from there, I chose to see myself as not being stupid, but being somebody that can actually learn if they apply themselves. And so I went off to junior college and in the military. And then once I got out of the teams, I actually ended up going into college and got my degree in business.
Nice.
So up until this point, or at this point here, what I hear you saying is, for me, that's not my story, but that's my story. So it resonates so strongly with me. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Because sometimes people can see you down the road going, oh, it was easy for you. Oh, it's, Navy SEAL, tough guy, you can do it all. And it's like, true. And this is also true, right? All of it. Let's talk about all of it. All my failures, all the wins, bring it. Because I find talking to people that's really valuable, because it's, a lot of times we have a tendency to not see the whole picture, right? It's kind of like you see the movie star, they blow up on the screen, and they're like 4 movies in a row. You're like, this guy's huge. She's awesome. And we don't see the 20 years prior, all the struggles that it took for them to get there. And I can appreciate that. I do that all the time. It's probably a human condition. We just can't see the work that was done behind in the background before they actually arrive. Not that I've arrived, I'd say that. I'm just like, I'm just getting started. Come on.
Yeah.
I find it incredible that you came to such realizations at such a young age. I mean, there are people well into adulthood and beyond that don't have the awareness of their limiting beliefs that they carry, the confirmation bias that they keep piling on top of it. And is there anything in particular you think that sparked that? Did you do breathing, or was it just an epiphany that came to you?
I think I've been curious my whole life. And with studying, it's always interesting because I love to find out new things. I just wasn't curious or interested in finding out what they actually were teaching in school. All right. So if I would opened up a book and we're on chapter 2, I might go to chapter 10 because that looked pretty interesting. I'll read that one and, I just won't do the homework. Right. I'm always curious and like, this looks interesting to me. So I've always been curious, and definitely human beings are the most the biggest curiosity to me by far. And that's what got me started on that path. And then when I was in sports, I got into golf, and I absolutely went right to the psychology of golf because it's such a mental game. The sports I played previously, like football, basketball, baseball, a lot of them were very reactionary. And it's kind of like you just are in it and it's going so fast. I don't really have to think a whole lot. But golf, there's so much time between the shots. And some of the thoughts that would come up for me, I'm like, where did that come from? How is it that I could just hit it so pure on the range and I get onto the golf course and it's just like a different person out there? Or I go into a tournament and it's like, who's this guy? This isn't me. This is somebody else. I don't know who this is right now, but the way I'm hitting the ball, is this me? Yeah, it's all me. And it's like, why does that happen? And I read this book called The Inner Game of Tennis by Timothy Gallwey. He didn't have The Inner Game of Golf back then. And, but I read that, and that really set me on that path, that sports psychology, the human psyche. And I've just been fascinated by it the whole time. And that was when I was 15, 16 years old.
Wow. Nice. Well, I think this is a great lead in to some of the next topics we're going into. So in your bio, you mentioned your purpose. And, this is a term we hear more and more these days, getting kind of thrown around, find your purpose, live your purpose. But what does having a purpose mean to you?
Everything, in a nutshell. Like when I see people, the ability to overcome adversity, the ability to go through the most difficult times, the ability to break through and to achieve, usually starts with a purpose. Because if you don't, when it gets tough, like, why would you do that? The human brain's not designed to seek out adversity. It's designed to seek pleasure, right? It's designed to be efficient. It's designed to stay safe. Push the genes to the next generation, it's good to go. When we choose to overcome ourselves and really push ourselves, now you're playing a whole different game. So now there has to be some reason behind it that would motivate you to get up early, to do the things that aren't natural, like to go into cold water or to train the human body in a way that has it grow. That's not natural, right? When you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, it's dark, it's cold. Do I really need to get up at 5 o'clock? Like, I don't really have an appointment till like 9. I've got so much time, like, another half hour. Let me hit the snooze button. Like that dialogue in our head, when you have that thinking, welcome to the club, right? Mm-hmm. You're human. What we do with it makes all the difference in the world. So that's where that purpose really comes in, right? So for me, and I had a talk with a group of people the other day, and we were talking about something very similar to this. And I said, today, in the morning when I wake up, and I choose to get up at 5 a.m. on the weekdays. This is my battle rhythm right now. Mm-hmm. And then on the weekends, I try not to have the alarm on Saturday. I wake up to my body clock, whatever that is. And that seems to serve me pretty well right now. But 5 a.m. comes around, and I'm so excited to jump out of bed. Not in a way it's like, oh, hey. It's like I have something bigger going on in my life than the need to buy into that voice in my head going, oh, it's dark, it's cold. All those things are true. But that purpose I have driving me is bigger than the excuse I have to stay in bed. Hasn't always been like that, right? Of course, I've been out there and I doing PT sessions as a Navy SEAL at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5. Yes, of course I can do all that because that was an expectation. That was part of the job. Of course I'm going to do that. But just notice for a lot of us, if we have an appointment with another person, right? If it's a doctor's appointment, we have to get to work and we have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever it's going to be. We jump out of bed. Not that we want to, but it's like, okay, there's a reason behind it that's bigger than your desire to stay in bed, right? Like I would like to keep my job, so I'm going to jump out of bed and get to work, right? For a lot of us, that's probably enough motivation to get out of bed. Maybe some people it's not. But it's like, why? And your purpose is something that's personal to you. So what I find, I work with a lot of people on purpose, a lot of organizations, groups of people. It's like, why do we do what we do? What's the reason? What's my major aim in life? And what I find is if we try to make it so grand, like I've got to save the world, I've got to go down on my vacation time to Brazil and plant 4,000 trees. And if I'm like Mother Teresa, then somehow that's a worthy purpose. And I find that that's really defeating. And when we're willing to let go, and one of the things that's really come up for me recently that I heard a long time ago that it really punched me in the throat, like, wow, that is impactful, is this concept, and these are all concepts of we're born 100% worthy. We're born 100% whole. There's nothing we can do or have done to us that would make us less worthy or less whole. And I'd heard that before. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's for women. You know, I'm a tough guy. I know I'm whole. I know I'm worthy. And once I got over myself, my own biases, my own limited thinking, and really let that sink in going, wow, wait a minute. There's nothing I actually have to do to make me more whole or worthy. There's no achievement. There's no title. There's no position in my business where I can go to make myself more worthy. And it's like, wow, okay. I already have won. Like I exist. We are here now. What an incredible miracle. Like we've already won. Imagine putting that thought in your head, like I am absolutely worthy and whole. And now this is icing on the cake. If I had this life to live, what would I want to do? That I want to do, not my wife, not my son, not what people around me think I should do, but what would I want to do if I had this gift of time, this life? And when I let all the other baggage go and I go, wow, that's so cool. I'm going to do it because I want to, because I think it'd be really kick-ass and I'd have a great time doing it. And when I look around, it's like, there's nothing I would rather do than be out and help other people liberate their thinking. Like coaching, I love it. I absolutely love it. I jump out of bed going, today I get an opportunity to get out there and serve. Not because I will be somebody more special when I do that. Not because that's what I should do. Not because it's what I have to do. It's because that's what I would absolutely choose to do. If I had all the time in the world, I'd love to be with other people going, what are the thoughts you're making up? And are they serving you? No? All right, let's make up something different. And I love that because I've seen the results in my own life from when I've had very limited thinking and thinking, oh, this is how it has to be, or I should. A man like me should be out getting a job, or I should be earning money. Let go of that dream. And this is what you should be doing. And when I bought into it and I get to make myself right, and I'm going, oh, okay, this is what a real job looks like. It sucks, right? Because I remember when I got out of the teams, I'm like, one of my goals is to go play professional golf. And I gave myself an ultimatum, right? This real, all or nothing mentality of like, you're going to make it happen or you're not. And I gave myself a clear deadline and I didn't hit it. So I was like, you're done competing, pack up the bags. You're going to go out and get a real job because you're not going to be driving around when you're 40 years old, living out of the back of your car, right? Going to tournament to tournament, trying to make ends meet. This was when I was 26, talking to myself like this. And so I'm like, okay, you're done. You're done playing golf. I wanted to compete. I didn't want to play golf. I wanted to play on the tour. And so then I'm looking around going, all right, well, now what the hell do I do? What do I want to be when I grow up? So I thought, oh, I know I should go out and make a lot of money. That's what people are supposed to do, right? And that was my mentality. And so I'm like, well, where do people make money, right? I'm coming from the SEAL teams. It's like, it's a very unique skill set, but not many people are going, okay, yeah, all right, we'll jump out of a plane. We'll go blow some stuff up. Do you guys have anything like that at this job? No? Okay. Right. And so it's like, oh, I guess I'll get into real estate. And then I'll learn how the money works. So I got into lending. And so I got this office. I'm doing residential lending. And I can feel myself in the office actually age. Like I can feel myself on the computer going, and I'm looking at these walls and it's all this fluorescent lighting. I'm like, it's like in a casino. I couldn't tell if it's 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. I'm like, this is what a real job feels like. I'm getting old before my own eyes. I felt like a cat scratching the walls, like going, just get me out of here. This is not fun. My ability to perform was very low because I had no purpose except of escaping, right? And it's like, how does a guy come from operating at one of the highest levels in the world at an elite military unit to wanting just to crawl up in the fetal position in the corner going, this sucks. I want to tap out, right? I don't quit. And it's like, no, I really want to quit right now. I have nothing in my body that wants to do this. And so it's like, isn't that fascinating? Same person, completely different results, right?
Right.
And now I'm so curious because I get to work with people where I'm so grateful to have been and experienced all these parts of me to go, when somebody says, oh, Rich, it's easy for you because you've always been able to do that. It's like, all right, let's sit down and talk. And I can appreciate that. And I'm so grateful that all these times that I fail, because when it is working, I can go, it gives me a much greater sense of humility, knowing that, yeah, I am all these things, and this is what makes me me, right? And without it, would I really know what it's like to perform at a high level if I didn't suck so bad at so many other things?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for the no bullshit authenticity here. This is, I love it. Speaking power to truth, truth to power, power to truth. Yeah. How does someone go about uncovering their purpose, Richard?
When I think about energy and vitality, I think about a kid. They have the energy to play, run around, climb things. That energy that feels like you just can't contain yourself. It's the stuff we've always wished they could just bottle up and sell to us, right? Well, this company's found a way to do just that. Amari's Happy Juice Pack. Mood, motivation, energy, things our bodies can naturally produce when both our guts and our brains are happy and communicating. And we can actually improve that process of communication across the axis of the gut and the brain. This is cutting-edge science. This is game-changing information. This is where science meets soul. This is Amari, and we're helping people feel better naturally. Check out the links in the show notes for discounts and more information.
How does someone go about uncovering their purpose, Richard?
Start, right? A lot of us want to hide out into confusion, right? A lot of us want to go, oh, it's like I have to chisel at the top of the mountain and come down with it. And it's like written in stone. It's like, no, pick something you think would be absolutely fun to pursue, start moving and see if it's true for you. Because I used to sit there all the time trying to I have to uncover my purpose. Like, we're going to journal about this. You've got 3 hours. And when you come out, your purpose better be clear, right? It's like, usually doesn't work out too well, right? It's like, let's put something on paper. If I gave you 5 minutes, write something down you think is absolutely fascinating For you, are you willing to write it down as if nobody else is watching, right? Like if it's just you looking at it, what would you write down as a aim, as a target, as a direction in which to move? And if you write it down, it's like, okay, I don't think that's going to be it forever. And it's like, perfect. It never will be. Your purpose will continue to evolve and change as you do, as the world does, as your awareness does, as your perspective, as you grow, the seasons of your lives change, it will change too. Awesome. It's a moving target, right? But the big piece is moving. Get moving. Just get into action. I used to sit down and think, all right, my visualization was I'm in this field and there's all these mountains around me, and I got to figure out which mountain I'm supposed to climb before I ever start climbing, because what if I start heading halfway up and it's the wrong mountain? Oh, I don't want to do that. Like that would be so much a waste of time and energy. So I've got to sit here, and after a while it's like, how long are you going to sit there and try to think about it, and just realizing that the only reason I'm not moving is because I'm fearful. And when you're willing to uncover all the other crap and get to the core, it's like the only reason you're not taking action is because you're scared and you want to indulge in confusion. Or I used to love to indulge in, oh, well, you don't understand. See, the world I came from, like if I make a mistake, like if I start moving in the wrong direction, people can get hurt. So I can't just start doing that. And it's like, get over yourself, right? Nobody's going to die if your purpose changes or you don't. It's like at the end of the day, when you hold the mirror up, you can say things to other people. When you hold the mirror up and you look at yourself and you go, yeah, that's just fear. And if you just let that go, going, of course I'm going to be fearful. It's change, it's challenge. The human brain is not designed to lean into fear. It wants to run from fear. It's like, that's not natural to run towards gunfire. It's not natural to be willing to go towards that fear. Knowing that, oh, that's where all the spice of life is when that development comes, and just get moving. That's, if I can tell one thing to people, it's like, just get moving. Don't worry. You'll figure it out on the way. Get over yourself and your purpose. Just pursue the things that you find fascinating for you, not anybody else. Because what happens to people when they think my purpose is to be the best mom, and I'm going to be such a good mom or a father, or I'm going to build this huge business, and that's what I have to do because all these other people will be able to benefit from it. And they get into it and they sacrifice and they fall on the sword, and I'm going to be this martyr so that we have the best family ever. And what it creates is a bunch of resentment over time. People just grow old and they're going, hey, you don't even realize how much I sacrificed for you, what I did for you. And it's the person looks at him like, I never asked you to do anything. Oh, what the hell are you talking about? Right. And then they just get pissed off because they feel like they spent their whole life doing something for other people. And it's like, that's probably a more effective way to move in the world. And it's like, I'm going to do it because I absolutely love doing it. And I love serving. It's like this, maybe part of like a hierarchy of needs, like survival. Yeah, we probably don't have a whole lot of purpose if we're stuck trying to survive. Right? That might be your purpose. Like, I just need to survive today. Just get me through today. And I'm not thinking about how do I self-actualize and, do good in the world. It's like, I just want to find food and shelter. And there's a lot of people in the world that are in that mentality. Yeah. And that's okay. That's part of life. But when you meet those basic needs, then the human brain going, yeah, why be here? Why do the challenging? Why actually climb the mountain? Because down here it's comfortable, right? I hear these guys talk about doing hard things and challenging yourself. And it's like, why do any of that? And that's a really good question. And that's where purpose comes in. Because without purpose, and I've seen so many people fail to reach their goals because they lost their focus. they lost the purpose, right? So like going through SEAL training to become a Navy SEAL, you go through an introductory course called BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Training. And I remember lining up there, and there was 156 of us that actually made it to day one, right? There's hundreds of people before that didn't even make it that far. And it's really, I didn't appreciate how hard it was to even get to the first day of BUDS. A lot of guys got washed out because they just didn't have strong enough ears to be able to dive. Like, you're going through the big Navy, you're going through all these physical screening tests. And a lot of guys had really rude awakenings when they found out that they couldn't even try because of something like their color blindness. Right?
Yeah.
One, they didn't realize they were colorblind, or to the level of which the Navy says you are or are not colorblind, or your ears aren't quite strong enough. I don't know if that's the right term. They are not have the ability to go diving at depth with pressure. So sorry. You can go into the regular Navy. And it's like, these kids don't even have a chance. Imagine the sacrifice and the work they've done just to get there to have a chance. And they get told, because of some condition they weren't even aware of, they can't even try. All right. So I was one of those guys fortunate enough to even get to day one, 156 of us line up. And I look around, and I remember looking around, and it's like, damn, I'm feeling really average right now. Right. It's like, there's some real studs there. And I remember looking over, and there's this guy, and on my left side, he's like 6'2", 220, just a rock. I'm like, okay, if you paint a Navy SEAL, that's probably what a Navy SEAL looks like, right? Just like that. I'm 5'8", like 170 maybe. And I'm just like, okay, that's not me. And then I look over to my right, and there's this guy standing next to me. I went to boot camp with him. And he, since he was like 2 years old, he got a little knife in his mouth. He's like, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. Right? And it's like a year earlier, I'm just like, I couldn't tell you what a Navy SEAL was. Right. And so I'm like, oh man. Okay. And our instructor at the front said, yeah, look to your left, look to your right. Statistically, less than one of you will make it. And in that moment was a real gut check. And it's like, am I willing to do this? And I just relaxed, and I said, absolutely. There's nowhere I'd rather be. This is the greatest place ever. Let's go. And what happened was, as soon as we got contacted with adversity, right, the challenge came, and it's going to come for all of us. I realized how much I could thrive in that environment, how much my upbringing had prepared me for being in that chaotic environment. And what I saw is one of the first guys to drop was that 6'2", 220 stud. And I'm like, isn't that interesting? And then I don't remember how much longer, maybe a few months or weeks later, the other guy ended up going away. But it's like, why? What gets me through and not those guys? And what I came to realize is, when things get tough and people lose the reason why they are there, real fast it goes, why would you put yourself through that? That's inhumane. Why would you put yourself through a crucible like that? And the key to that is having a purpose. But the thing is, every guy there had a different purpose for being there. My purpose, I wanted to go play professional golf after I got out of the teams. I want to go kick Tiger Woods' ass when I got back out of the teams, and that was my way of becoming more mentally tough than Tiger Woods and developing myself, right? And it's like, I was probably the only guy there for that particular purpose, right? And that was my story. That was my reason for me. And that kept me going. Like, I used to have these mantras in my head: haze gray underway, right? So I'd look out, and we're doing these soft sand runs, and I felt like my heart's going to pop. Like, they were brutal. And I'd just look out, the ships out at sea, and they're just cruising by. out of the Pacific Ocean. I go, hell no, you will not
Mhm.
find me on that. And I just made that commitment. Like, I would rather die in training. I'd rather die than to quit. And for some people, it might be morbid, but for me, it just made everything really clear. Like, my purpose was clear. Like, I will not quit. That was my aim, whatever happens. Right. And it's like, that was a clarity. That was a certainty within myself that I allowed myself to play that game, because it's just a story. At the end of the day, it's just a story. It's just like that quote from Henry Ford: whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And that resonates more true for me today than any time in my life. Like, the thoughts that we can constantly have in our head, they are going to become our reality. They are going to direct the brain in a way that it will seek out evidence to make you right. And if that's true, what do you want to be right about? Right? So is it to have 1 million people influenced by this podcast? I love that, right? To bring, and you every day you wake up and you train your brain to go, I'm going to, in morning ritual, part of it, what I love to do in the morning is a visualization process, right? And it becomes more true for me. I am training my brain constantly to bring into the world what I say I want. Why? Because I want it, not anybody else, right? I'm not trying to be Gandhi. I'm not trying to be Mother Teresa. I'm just trying to learn how to be me. And that's absolutely fascinating. And when I give myself permission to do that, then my world becomes bigger and I want to serve more. That's just what I want to do. And if somebody else doesn't, that's okay too. The way I choose to serve, the way I am in the world, is simply a reason for me and the aim for me to go, wow, what else is possible for me? Right? That spark, that fire. Because what I found is if I'm trying to do it for something outside of myself, like do it because I think I'm supposed to, or because I should, or whatever it is, save the world, but it's not true for me. Talk about just putting a damper on the flame, right? It's like I'm trying to be something that I'm just not. I'm trying to put a mask on and trying to act a certain way, but it's like, oh, it's just bullshit. And why would I do that to myself? Why would I go through life being something that I'm not because I'm afraid what other people would say about me? And when I really get clear and truthful with myself, and I just go, okay, can I just let down that baggage, give myself a hug, and just go, let it go. I love you. You're completely whole. There's nothing that can be done or you can do to make yourself less whole. Let's go. So all the things I did wrong, all the mistakes, all the failures, those are just stepping stones to the next step. And it's like, yes, if that's true, if that's the game I choose to play, now I really am limitless. And that's what I choose to believe. And that's what unlocks everything.
Yeah, I love it. So a little while ago, you talked about or used the analogy of climbing a mountain, which mountain to climb. And what if I'm climbing the wrong mountain? What if I'm putting my ladder up against the wrong wall, right? Climbing the wrong ladder. That's going to happen in life. It's just, unless you're just one of those few people that are fortunate enough to fall into your purpose early on in life, it's almost a guarantee. One of the things, and I love the climbing analogy, right? Because that's what we love to do is, I set out every time to climb a mountain. I'm going to climb the mountain. I'm going to get to the top, but there's a lot of variables involved that I cannot control. I can control what's in my heart and what's in my head. I can be there in the moment when you're climbing that mountain, be there in the moment, learn from the experience. What can you take away? And if you find you're on the wrong mountain, okay, how did you get there? Shift your perspective, choose another mountain. Maybe a little bit more thought goes into it this time. You learned some stuff from the last time you tried to climb it. What can you do now to find that right purpose? What can you do now to climb that right mountain? And, so how do you know, like, truly, when you're coaching somebody, how do they know what spark happens when they find their purpose? What do you see? What goes on?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Andy. It's one of the things that come up for me, and one of the ways I think about it now is there's never a wrong mountain to climb. It's about the climb. It's about choosing to lean in and start climbing. And you will find your purpose. That mountain has a lesson to teach you. That mountain is your teacher if you're willing to get the lesson. So there is no wrong mountain. So it's all part of life. You were called to start climbing that mountain for whatever reason. And if the call comes to start climbing a different mountain, awesome. And if the call comes to climb a different mountain, awesome. Where we get in trouble is we start investing. We go, I've spent so much time and energy climbing this mountain that I just can't get down from it. Like, we believe that it's just like too far gone. I'm too old. I'm, too this or whatever. And I just can't come down from that mountain to even think about climbing another one. It's like, who told you had to climb that mountain for the rest of your life? Who said that we ever had to? What if the game was to get stronger by climbing mountains? And maybe it wasn't about getting to the top of one. Maybe it was about exploring multiple mountains. And appreciate that as part of the journey. It's like, right now I'm building a coaching business. Absolutely love it. And if I get there and I'm like, wow, you know what? I just saw over the other peak that there's a mountain that's even more fascinating than this one. Let's go. I will never be confined by going, oh, but you know how much time and energy I've invested into coaching and learning and training? It's like, absolutely. And I wouldn't do anything different because of the person I'm becoming. But if I see something over there that's like, holy moly, I'm working on my cursing. That's one of my goals. Getting rid of my sailor mouth. That I find even more fascinating. Wait a minute, then I've really won. I think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, what I'm doing. And you're telling me I can go and do something that it's even better for me. Let's go. I am not attached. Right. So when I let go of that, because believe me, when a couple of years ago, well, maybe a little bit more than that, I would always question. I was hesitant. I'm like, oh, but what if I go down this? What if I invest the next 4 years of my life and I realize I don't want to do it anymore? Oh, geez. And then it's like 6 months later, I'm still spinning my wheels. I'm still able to stay safe, but I'm miserable because I'm not taking action and I'm not doing the work that needs to be done for me to grow as a human being. So when I let that go and I go, what if my purpose was to constantly challenge myself, lean into being uncomfortable and growing for a reason that I think is worthy of my time? Then it's like, oh, let's go. And if I find something more worthy of my time, let's go.
Love it.
Wow. And I love that you are bringing up the point of purpose being a moving target. And myself included, I've talked to many people about this as well, that you have to feel it in your heart, and it has to be this overarching goal that serves the world. And if it's about me, then maybe I'm just being egotistical. But what I'm hearing you say is that it is about serving ourselves to a certain extent and being our authentic self and bringing that to the world and really following our passions and what brings us alive.
Yeah, it's definitely about serving ourselves. It's all about us. Let's get over ourselves. We want to say, oh, it's about serving humanity and all this. It sounds really good, but you got to throw up the bullshit flag. It's like, really? No, when we feel whole, when we feel like we're working on ourselves and we're doing the best we can for ourselves, then of course we want to be with other people and serve in a larger way. It's a natural progression of wanting, like, you have so much love for yourself and in your heart and so much growth and expansion. You want to be and give it to other people because of that. But if you're like, oh, I just have to get over myself, it's not about me, it's about other people, and you haven't developed that yet, there's going to be resentment. There's going to be a void because you haven't taken the time to develop yourself and love yourself. Like, it's pretty easy to see when, if you don't love yourself, how would you love another human being?
Yeah.
Maybe the world needs us to love ourselves, and maybe the world would start changing in a way where other people were given permission to love as well. But if it's like the world keeps telling you, no, you just have to, do the right thing and have a label of what that right thing's supposed to look like, and there's that void within you going, wait a minute, I'm missing a step. Go back within, love yourself. If we could just love ourselves, I think the world could drastically take a direction that's more meaningful and purposeful for all of us.
Yeah, amen. So this way of thinking, this way of believing and being is unique, I think, in our society. And our challenge as coaches is to help our clients see this purpose, this way of being, the possibilities here. But because I think it's unique, and maybe I'm wrong, but at least in the circles I grew up in, it's unique. What would you say to somebody if they came to you and said, wow, that's really selfish. That's, you're living for you and not for your family. And I ask that from the perspective of this has come up along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a good question, right? And it's like, well, who am I to tell you what you should think about me? Right? Who am I to worry about what other people are going to have thoughts about me? And that's easy to say, very difficult to do. Mm-hmm. But when I give myself permission to go, of course, people are going to have different points of view, and they're not wrong. Anything that I'm saying right now is not the truth. Mm-hmm. It's not big T. This is my truth. This is my experience. And that's so liberating to me, because what I say is I may change it all tomorrow. And I'm not married to any of it. None of it's written in stone. And I will continue to pursue this path. I know what works for me and what doesn't. And I'm absolutely open to changing it 180 degrees if I think that is more meaningful and purposeful for me. Up to this point in my life, this is what I've found to work for me. This is the way in which I choose to operate in the world. This is the way I choose to share what I've learned in the world to this point. And absolutely, there is nothing that I'm going, I have to hold on to this, because what if I talk to Andy next month and I'm like, well, this is how purpose looks now. It's like, Of course it might. Of course it's going to change, because I'm going to change. I'm going to continue to climb the mountain. And as I climb the mountain, my perspective will change. And I'm so excited about that. I will become more clear. I will have contact with reality. I will have my thoughts and go, okay, how does it actually work in the world? Let's go. Because believe me, I've gone the direction where it's like, oh, I'm supposed to try to save the world. The world's, I've got to go do, if I'm not doing climate change, I must be a bad person. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I'm just looking at myself going, really? Like, I can appreciate it, but man, it's a little bigger than me. Let me start on myself and try to really get clear on who I am as a human being and how I can serve in my way. Mm-hmm. Instead of going, I'm not a good person unless I really start pounding the drum on climate change or globalization or, pick your topic, right? And for me, just to be truthful with myself enough just to go, okay, let's start on myself. If I learn to master myself, I can start to focus on others in a way that is authentic, in a way that's meaningful, in a way that doesn't have to manipulate, because I'm already whole. If people don't agree with it, that's quite all right as well. I love them, right? And of course, we're going to have different opinions and perceptions because we come from so many different places, and they're not wrong. It's kind of like people that get attached to a religion. They go, mine's right, yours is wrong. in my opinion, it's like, what if they're all right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like,
Yep.
and so for me to think that I'm going to be judged, absolutely. That's a human condition. We judge all the time. We're constantly judging and scanning our environment for threats and opportunities. That's being human. I'm good with that. Right? That's part of life. I just need to get over myself and not worry about what other people are thinking, because I already know everybody's got their own opinion, and that's perfect.
Yeah. So the message here, right? That or the part about you chose climate change, but you could apply this philosophy, this template to any of the big ticket social items right now, right? We listen to, or we don't listen to, the network news, the social media, the quote unquote reality TV, and they're all telling us who they think we should be, and that we should be ashamed if we're not that thing, that person. So this is really powerful information. I hope everybody re-listens to this part that that Richard just told us about, because this is great.
I'm just becoming strong enough to actually share that, because before it would be like, let me be politically correct. Let me go on the internet and hear what everybody else is touting, right? I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I want everybody to like me. I want, what do I have to say so I don't upset anybody? And it's like, who wants to play that game? I don't want to play that game. I want to have people challenge me, have people challenge my thinking so I become better in my thinking. Absolutely. I want to have arguments with people so that we both walk away better, not just saying things and spouting information because we want to be right. Like, that doesn't get us anywhere. And whatever topic it is, right? It's like, oh yeah, let's talk about it, because it's fascinating. Like, when you have a great argument and people get to walk away with new perspectives, it's so amazing, right? But if we walk in having to be right, like if I can surrender the need to be right, then I can actually learn something. And one of the other mental models really serves me is, everybody's my teacher. Am I aware enough to find the lesson? Or I can be right and go, I got it all figured out. You guys are all idiots and nobody can tell me anything. Either way, I could be right about however perspective I want to take. Right? So I choose to use this model because I find that model much more fascinating, and my ability to grow is exponentially larger than choosing that other one, right? It's like, yeah, everybody's my teacher. Am I aware enough to see the lesson? So now it puts it on me to go, what's the lesson here? How can I learn? Instead of me being right and going, I've got it all figured out. I'm going to show them. I'm going to show that guy when I see that homeless person on the street and go, you're just lazy. You just need to go get a job and suck it up. I could be right in my mind, or I can go, what's the lesson here? How can I serve, or what is it going on in their life that brought these circumstances upon them?
Say, I find it fascinating too when people are able to express themselves in this way without worrying about the consequence or the judgment. Most people find it extremely refreshing and get excited to hear an attitude like that. And I mean, we spend our entire lives building up these stories about ourselves and other people. Where do you start someone breaking down those stories to where they can start to love themselves and find their own truth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I haven't really thought about that a whole lot. If I was going to coach somebody into how do I start breaking that down, I think inviting them to have an awareness that it's all a story. It's all a story. We're just making shit up as we go. Making stuff up as we go. Right? And that's the human condition. We're hardwired for certain things, right? So like that motivational triad, we're hardwired to seek pleasure, right? To have efficiency and to stay safe. That's like that mammalian brain. We're hardwired for certain things. We're hardwired towards a bias towards negativity to help us, the survival mechanism, right? So when people go, but Rich, I have negative thoughts. It's like, of course you do, because you're normal. You're human. Welcome to the club. But they think there's something wrong with them. Like so many people I talk to, they think there's something wrong with, like, I'm unique because I got these really dark thoughts in my head sometimes, or I don't feel like working out. It's like, yeah, nobody, like,
Yeah.
that's a trained condition. It's not human. It's not natural to want to push yourself out of your comfort zone and exert energy. That's a choice we make on a daily basis, and that takes training. Just like stripping down all the things that we've been conditioned to learn, or the social and cultural norms. And one of the best things you can do to really start to take a look at what you believe to be true is travel. Travel is one of the greatest awareness tools ever. One of the greatest gifts I got from being in the military and from being on the security detail, I got to travel all around the world, and I got to meet so many different types of people, so many human beings that saw the world in such a different way than me. What a gift. Because we can get in our own little bubbles, our own little circles, and think that's the way life is. That's the way the world is. This is what reality looks like. And when you pull yourself out of your cultural norms and see somebody operate in a completely different way, you're like, whoa, what? And if we don't judge it in a way like that's wrong, if we judge it in a way going, isn't that interesting? They see the world in that way. Wait a minute. How does that happen? And then we get to questions like, okay, what is this whole truth? Like, what is true? And then you start questioning everything, right? And I want people to question everything. Be strong enough to question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're willing to question everything, you will find that whatever it is you believe to be true may get stronger, or you may have something you get to pick up that will be even more powerful. And when I travel, that's one of the greatest gifts I get to see, is I get to see different perspectives. I get to see how people view the world, how they behave in the world, and then what they choose to do with their lives, right? And you guys are great examples of what's possible when people are willing to get out and do things like that, right? Your perspective is so much different because of the choices you've made and the places you've been able to go, the perspectives you get to see, and it's like, if you stay in that bubble, you are limited in a way that you can actually see things differently.
Wow. So, time check, right? That we've almost been talking for an hour here, and this has gone by so quickly. I would love to have you back, invite you back in a future time to discuss. We only scratched the surface of the different topics that we had on tap for today, but this one purpose is very powerful topic. Where can our listeners go to find out more about your coaching program, You versus You, correct?
Yeah. The rest is classified. I can't really talk about anything.
Okay.
Else.
Well, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, and we'll release the show notes for you.
There you go. Yeah. UVU. That's my You versus You. I created my company. I'm like, what am I going to call this thing? And at the end of the day, when I boiled it down, it's like, oh, it really comes down to me versus me. Mm-hmm. You versus you. The thoughts in your head, the things you say to yourself on a daily basis is either going to make the most incredible life, or it's going to make it a tragedy. It's like, we get to choose. Are you willing to be a warrior and choose this extraordinary life? Or are you going to fall into those thoughts in your head going, oh, I can't do that, and justify all the reasons? And either way, you're going to be right? You're either going to live this unlimited life, this unbelievable, unbeatable life, or you're just going to be like, I'd rather stay safe. My life has to be this way. And the kicker is, you will be right.
Mm-hmm. No matter what story you tell yourself, you will be right. I love it. Richard, thank you so very much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much. Very insightful.
Yeah. Thank you, Casey. Thank you, Andy. Appreciate you. I appreciate what you guys are doing in the world. I love the podcast. And yeah, thank you.